Hey guys, this is Chodaros, and today's tutorial will be on this bracelet here. It is called the Twisted Ribbons bracelet. It was designed by my good friend MS Loom on Instagram. It is a hook-only design that incorporates a jump ring or a large hold spacer in the middle of the bracelet. So you have 2 steps to complete this center part that I have in gold, and then 1 step to complete the border around. So in order to do a full wrap, you will need approximately 12 jump rings or large hold spacers. To accommodate your wrist may take it might take a few more or a few less. So this is the back side. Okay, and here's the front. So it is supposed to be closed in the middle, okay? So what have I found that using a thicker band through the center works way better, so it fills in that gap. And surprising enough, as you'll never really hear this out of me, the dual layer 600 pack bands, I prefer 100% for the border. So a thin band I actually prefer. Any band can be used for this design, but I do like to give my feedback as well. The jump ring that I used, the size, is a 10mm jump ring. You want to make sure that you use a jump ring that's large enough because you are doing a stitch on 2 sides, or you're doing a stitch on both sides of that jump ring. So if you use anything smaller than an 8mm, you may not have enough room to complete it. So you want to keep that in mind. So it's a super simple bracelet. It's very, very elegant, or it can be dudified by adding the correct colors of bands and even the beads in the middle. So let's get started. Okay, so first I'm just going to show you quickly with the beads slash O-ring that I'm going to use in the center of my bracelet. If this would be something that you would choose to use. This is a 10mm jump ring. Jump ring is open. It has it's cut. Okay, and these are the small dotted rondelle spacer beads, which I have gone over in a separate tutorial. But these are jewelry needle nose, I believe, pliers, and because these are a thick gauge jump ring, you want to take this on the side and you want to put your one hand goes forward, one hand goes back, because we just want to make a we don't want to bend the circle, we just want to open it up. So just the smallest amount like that. Okay, and then you just simply place any type of bead through the hole as long as it will fit. So I did 3, and then once again you want to do the same actions but in reverse, which is just like in my case, my left hand's going back, my right hand's going forward, and I am pushing it back to meet the other side. Okay, and you want to make sure that you don't have a gap there, because if you have a gap, your band will go through it. So that's just if you wanted to add or embellish your jump ring. Okay, all right, so as mentioned, we will need you will need 12 large space beads, or these jump rings, O-rings. What we need, 12, or could be a little bit more depending on your wrist size. Okay, you will need these first before we begin. Alright, and then I choose to use this Persian, maybe they're Persian purple, but they're the dual layer 600 pack bands. I find the 600 pack bands to be the best to use on the border. They don't twist, they look really, really great. And for my chain in the middle, I want to use these LE bands here. I do highly suggest not to use a dual layer band for your middle, as you can see in between it, the thicker the band, the more it fills it in, so it kind of works out better that way. Okay, so we want to take and we want to make our cap band on our hook, and then we want to take another band and place that cap band on top and close it up. Okay, now we want to take our first jump ring and place it on your hook like that. We'll take another band and we're going to slide everything on our hook on top of that band. So you should have your jump ring and the 2 loops down there. Okay, so here's something, this part I would pay attention to, and I'll tell you why. Every time I added jump rings to my bracelets, I simply took my jump ring and just slid it forward like that. That's how I've always done it. Now, MS Loom has done this a different way, and it has to be done this way or your bracelet won't come out correctly. So I'm left-handed, but you'll just do the opposite if you're right-handed. I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to take it to the back. Okay, I'm taking it back there, and then I'm going to go under the jump ring like that. So it's kind of like you're twisting. You will have like a bit of a twisted band. Okay, so that's the way we want to go into this jump ring. So you want to hold that in place, and once we twist it, we only want to take this band and just place the jump ring on top of it. Okay, we don't want the other band on our hook to go anywhere near it. That is just for that jump ring. So now you have 4 loops on your hook. Anytime you have 4 loops on your hook through a jump ring like that, we take every band on our hook and place it all on top of a new band. Like that. Okay? So your ring is going to go to the side because we essentially place the hook through the side. So if it's not in the center and they're kind of facing towards you, that's correct. Okay? So every time you have 2 bands on your hook, this is when you want to take and add your next jump ring. So we follow the same process and just add your jump ring to the hook, take your band and slide your jump ring and the remaining loops on top of this new band and close it up. Again, we have the bands that were on our hook and then the jump ring as well. Okay, so our next step is to go ahead and add this jump ring back to our hook, but we're going to go to we're going to twist our hook in a circle motion towards the back and bring it up under the jump ring like that. Okay, so keep your hand on that jump ring, and then we're just going to add a band only capturing the jump ring on top. Okay, and again, it may twist a little bit, and that's completely okay. So now you should have 4 bands on your hook. Now you see this, the 2 bands towards the back were already on the jump ring, and then these 2 new bands are on it, but because we twisted our hook, they're towards the other side. So you have your 2 bands kind of on the left, on my case, and then the other 2. So you see it's tight, kind of twisted, and that's the correct way. So again, once we have 4 bands on our hook, we put all bands on a new one and close it up. Okay, so this is what you should have. You should have 4 loops on each jump ring. Okay, so I'm going to do that slowly one last time, and we'll speed it up a little bit. So again, 2 bands on your hook equals jump ring next to it. Once we put that jump ring on, we always slip everything onto a new band. Okay, And then we want to take our hook and rotate it towards the back inside the jump ring like that. Now we just want to take a band and pull the jump ring on top of it, leaving the other 2 bands on our hook alone. Now that we have 4 bands on our hook, we want to slip them all on top of a new band. Okay, so as you can see, mine are all coming towards me. All my jump rings, they're not straight. Okay, but when we go to do the other side, that's when we will even all of them out. So again, jump ring, band through everything, grab the jump ring from behind, add a band just to the jump ring, and then another band capturing everything on your hook. Again, jump ring, everything on top of the new band, grab that jump ring from behind, capture everything on your hook I'm sorry, this band only has, we just put the jump ring on top of the new band, leaving us with 4 loops on our hook, and that twist there is completely fine. And then we add a new band, capturing everything on our hook like that. So I'm going to go a tad faster. Turning that hook and putting it in the back side of that jump ring is essential. If you don't do that, trust me, it won't come out right, because I did it probably 8 times and couldn't figure out why this wasn't coming out right until MS Looms was kind enough to explain the difference in putting the jump ring onto the new band. Alright, so we have 1 more left. If you have any difficulties, you can always rewind back to the beginning and watch. Okay, so this is what you should have. It's just basically just a kind of a modified single chain. Okay, and as I mentioned, if all of your rings are turning to one side like mine, that's what you're supposed to have, and you have loops kind of on one side of your chain. So the next step is to add a C-clip, which I always end up losing. Alright, so we want to clip this part here like that. Okay, reason being is because we're going to start our other side to close this up. We're going to start it on our cat band side. Okay, so this is important as well. So you want to stick your hook through the cap band, and you want to have your bracelet where all of your rings are facing up towards the ceiling, okay? And I say that because if I would turn my cap band around, or turn my hook around, all of my jump rings would be facing down, and I don't want that. I want them all facing up. So put your hook in the cap band where your rings are facing up. Okay, so we're going to take one band and we're going to loop the cap band on top. Okay, now this is another part we want to really pay attention to. So we have to grab our jump ring again and put it on top of our hook. So when I grab mine, for instance, all the bands that we looped on the first step are on the right side of this jump ring. Okay? You can just grab your jump ring straight up. You don't have to twist it or anything. Just grab it and put it on your hook like we used to do, like we normally do. Okay? I'm going to slide those to the back so you can see. So again, the jump ring's just laying there. I just popped it on my hook. Alright, so first step again, just like the other side, we pop everything on our bands, on our hook, on a new band. Okay? Alright, so this is the part that can be tricky. So the last time we did this, we took our hook and we rotated it to the back and put it inside the jump ring. Now this time, we want to rotate it to the front and stick it inside that jump ring. So we want to put it in the opposite side than we did the first time. Okay, so once you have your hook in there, just place a band through the jump ring, putting 4 bands on your hook, and then capturing all 4 onto a new band, like that. Okay? So we need to repeat that. So again, if you're adding any type of embellishment onto your jump ring, I always push mine. I push mine all to the back when I go to grab my jump ring. Okay? So just straight, put your jump ring on your hook, add a band through everything, recapture. Now rotate your hook towards you, underneath that jump ring, inside it goes. Okay? And then take your new band, only putting the jump ring on it. Makes 4 bands on our hook, and then sliding a new band and putting all of those loops like that. Okay? So again, we want to just take this band or this jump ring, slide it on our hook, push all the everything, the jump ring and the 2 loops, everything onto a new band, and then we want to circle down, under, in to our jump ring, and put a new band just through the jump ring, and then a band capturing everything on our hook, all 4 loops. Okay? And then again, grabbing our jump ring, sliding a band, everything on top, and then down, under, and through, and then putting just a band through the jump ring, and then a band through everything. Okay, so put the jump ring on hook, capture everything on your hook, and then go down, around, and inside, just capturing the jump ring, and then everything on our hook. Okay, I'm going to speed it up here. If you need help, you can always rewind. So essentially, as you can see as we're looming it, it's turning to the back. Essentially is whatever way you turn your hook to on the first step of this bracelet, you're turning it the opposite way on the other side of the bracelet. Okay, the last one. Okay, so at the end you have the two that we just got done with, the two original that we clipped. So we can clip and we can add these two that we have on our hook onto this C-clip. There we go. Okay, so the side that was facing us as we were looming, this is the back side. Now if you turn it around, now you have your signature side. Okay, so the things that we're looking for are 3 loops, kind of. It's like 2.5. You have a tiny one in the middle, and that should be in the middle. So like on this side, I'm going to take that longer band and put it on the side. So you can either fix that up now, or you can wait until you've completed it. But we want to ensure that both sides are the same, meaning there's a lot of times that I have been looming bracelets and this side is the right way and then this side is backwards. So you want to make sure that both sides look the same and there's not any twisted bands in the front. Okay, and we kind of mesh it together like that as it's supposed to be closed in. So this is when I was speaking about using the dual layer bands, because these are LE bands and they're thicker. Of course, if you pull it apart, you're going to see the space, but the design is closed. So the thicker the band, the more you'll see that closed up. So this is how mine will look. I wanted it to have a little bit of a movement to it, so that's why I added those rondelle spacers. And they're not tight, they're just kind of wiggling around. Okay, so again, that's what it should look like. So now we can start the second part of our bracelet, which is just adding our border. And again, I super love the dual layer bands. Like the first time I can actually say that I would only use those for this, but any band will work. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that my signature side, this side here, is facing away from me. And we're going to work through the single chains on the sides of our bracelet. Okay, so we're going to go, this is the cap band here. Okay, you can see cap band. going to go into the first band and put your hook through in the middle of that chain. Okay, so we want to grab one band and pull that chain through, recapture. Grab another band, pull through, and capture. So you have two you chained. Now we want to take our hook and put it back through that same chain that we just used. So you can see this chain right here. Put your hook back through the exact same chain, and we're going to repeat that. So we're not going to use these bands on our left. We're just going to work through the single chain. Okay, so you put a band just through those two first loops, and then again another band through the first two loops on our hook. And now that made it even on both sides. Okay, we have two going through this single chain, then we have one going through like that. Now we want to take another band and capture all four loops through like that, and then one more, chain one more on there like that. Now this extra chain that we put on will give us the extra room because we have to go down to the second single chain. So we skip one, then we go to the next. So it's every other chain that we're going to be looping through. Alright, so again you want to stick your hook through that chain. Okay, now we want to take our band and we want to slide everything on our hook. So this chain and then these two loops, and then recapture like that. And now we want to add another chain to that. Okay, then we want to go back through the same chain as we did before and repeat that, adding two chains. So chain one just through the first two loops, and chain two just through the first two loops. Okay, so we're essentially just repeating what we did the first time we went through the chain the second time. So once you have four bands on your hook, put them all onto a new band and then chain one. Okay, so again we skip one chain and we put our hook through the second, and then we pull everything on our hook to this new band, recapture, chain one, go back through the same chain. Now we're only going to chain one through the first two loops, and then chain two through the first two loops, and then pull all four loops onto a new band, and then chain one. Okay, so again we skip one, go to the next, pull a band through all the loops on your hook, recapture, and then chain one. Go back through the same chain and just working through those first two bands on our hook, we pull one band through first two, and then another band through the first two, having all four loops on our hook, pulling a band through all four loops, and then chain one. Okay, so I'm going to speed it up a bit. So remember, every other one we go through, so we capture everything on our hook and then chain one, back through the same chain, chain one through first two, chain another through the first two, then pull a band through all four loops, and then chain one. Skip one. Oops, that one catches everything on our hook. And then we chain one, back through. Just grabbing the first 2 bands. Again, just the first 2 bands. And then grabbing all the bands on our hook. And then chain 1. If you feel you need extra instruction, please rewind and you can watch it again slower. But I was super impressed with how the dual layer bands are so smooth. They're not sticky and it just works out really well for this bracelet border. And especially the ones that are two-toned like this, the dual colors, it looks amazing, I think, on this bracelet. Alright, so always remember to chain 2 at the end here. Once you take this band that grabs all 4 loops, and the reason being is it's not pulling on your bracelet. If you didn't add that, your bracelet would be pulling, so you need that extra space there to comfortably reach over to the second chain down, because we're doing every other. So in my eyes, if I can understand the reasoning, I can remember to do it. So in case that may help you. Okay, so we're on our last one that takes us to our C-clip. Back through. Alright, so again, I'm just going to take the 2 loops that are on my hook, and just for this 1 minute, I'm going to add them inside this C-clip. If you don't have room in your C-clip, you can always grab another, just as long as you're securing them. Okay, so remember we had our signature side facing down, so now you can turn it around and you can see your bracelet really starting to take shape here. So I just kind of go like this, twist, and kind of open up all those bands there. But as you can see, what I was talking about with the dual layer, it adds enough volume where you don't need a thick band. Just the stitch alone just really brings out, but it's just a very unique, or it's just the stitch, this type of band just seems to work with that. I think it's beautiful. Alright, so as you can probably guess, this next step is to do the same exact on the opposite side. Okay, so I have to go this way, if I'm not mistaken. Or do I go this way? Maybe I do go this way. Being left-handed and watching the right-handed instructions on hook only seems to be, just in my case, a little bit more confusing. I have to really think sometimes, as my bracelet seems to turn out upside down. So this border is, I really can't tell much of a difference. I mean, you can kind of tell it's more loopy, and this one is more neat looking. So that's what you want to show. So if we were stitching this way, where the back side, and that is the back side, then we want to, I would assume, stitch on the same side. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put my hook back through the two bands that we just ended with on this side of the border. And this is to help me. If you are an avid hook only and you know how to add your borders to your bracelet, by all means do it the way you know. But just in my case, so we have, again, we just loop through the left side of our band that's on our C-clip, and I want to go right into the first chain on the right side of this C-clip here, okay? And then I want to follow the same process, putting the band through all four on our hook, and then adding a band, going back through the same chain, okay, 4 loops equals new band, and then chain 1. So that should give a nice even start to this side of the bracelet by doing it as so. Okay, again, we want to skip one chain, go to the next. Go through all 4 loops on your hook, and then chain 1, back through the chain. So it's the exact same as we did on the other side. So I think you should be familiar with the looping. And once you get the hang of it, it's really not, does not take long to make this bracelet. See, one thing that I seem to get confused with is, okay, this first time we have to put the band through and grab all the loops on our hook. And then for like 3 or 4 more times, we're just doing or in the next step here, we're just doing the first 2. So sometimes I have to remember to put all the bands on. I think this bracelet would look really great. You have a lot of opportunities to add different types of bling. One, you could, on these outside bands, you could like sporadically place these rondelle spacers that are on my jump rings on the border. I think that would look really pretty. And you could also, which I tried, but I don't have the correct type of chain, which I believe, I'd have to see what type of chain, but you don't want to, I would actually loom a chain in the middle. You could also do that instead of the jump rings, because essentially a chain is jump rings put together, if you think about it, right? So instead of putting individual jump rings on, you could just add a whole chain and do that middle stitch around that chain. That would look pretty too. But it'd have to be your jump rings for this design, they have to be I don't suggest anything smaller than 8mm, because you have to loom through both sides of your jump ring. And you have to make sure it's big enough to loom through both sides, or it'll be really crowded. But that's just my opinion. I wouldn't, these are 10mm, and I don't like to go any bigger than 10mm. Okay, almost to the end. Okay, so I have 1, 2, maybe 2 more to go. That's too many, right? Yep. Hmm. Lost my band. Is that right? No. Let me start that again. Alright, so we got one left. And my goal is to make it look even. So we are right up against that cat band, so what I'd like to do is just go into the first chain of our border, like that. Okay. And there will be 4 loops on your hook. Make sure your bands are even. And then I'd like to take another band and capture all 4 of those onto that. And then add our C-clip. So back down here you can take your C-clip out because your bands are loomed in. Right? Nope, I did not loom those in. They should be loomed in. So that's my bad right there. That's completely fixable. I'm sorry about that. They should be loomed in. So just grab a C-clip. And capture those in like that. Alright, so turn it to the signature side, and again I just kind of roll to open up these balls here because they look like little balls at first, so I just kind of want to stretch them a little bit so they open up and kind of all mesh together. Okay, and the other is if you would like to go back through the center, as I had mentioned before. I'm going to open them up that much. If you want to go back through the center and like straighten out those bands I was speaking of earlier and make sure they're kind of in the right spots. So you have like one looped band, which I try to keep in the middle. It's kind of can be hidden. And just making it look neat is the goal. That they're not twisted or anything like that. Okay. And then once you have all of your bands in order the way you want them, Okay, then you want to kind of, what I do is I push this together, and that way it's closing in that gap in the center. Okay, and there you have it. Your Twisted Ribbons bracelet, designed by my good friend MS Loom on Instagram. So I hope you enjoyed making this bracelet, and I hope the tutorial was clear enough for you to understand. So please hashtag your renditions to both MS Loom and I on Instagram, as well as to Twisted Ribbons bracelet. You can also find me on Facebook, so you can hashtag them there as well, but we would really love to see your renditions and the different ideas everyone has when it comes to color combos and adding bling and whatnot. So there you have it. We have some more designs coming up in the future, so you might want to stay tuned and check those out as well. So thanks for joining. Bye-bye.